Hi, I thought I'd do this small video on trim sheets, just based on stuff I've ended up finding out from my experience doing my first one, which was partly successful. Just go over some of the things I've found, observations, if you like, to bear in mind when you're building your trim sheets, and I'll also do a little bit of remodeling and show you how I went from this version, which was the version that I've made available to everybody, to this version, which is another version I'll be making available to everybody once I've finished this video and actually turn this into decals. This is, if you like, more decal friendly than the other one, and I shall just go over now why that's the case. And the first one, the really obvious one, which I should have thought of, is when you're thinking about you're doing these decals for building panels and things like that to use with decal machine and wrap round geometry. Well, this isn't going to wrap very nicely, because as you can see where my box is here, it's truncating that off, and if you take it up here so it doesn't truncate that off, then it truncates part of that top bit off, and so you've got to come all the way down to here to get a clean cut. But then you've got a lot of detail, and that is just too busy, really. It might be okay sort of representing a high detail thing, but in terms of wrapping round stuff, it's just too busy. You want something more like this. So what I'll actually do later is I'll show you how I sort of addressed this for the other version. As you can see, this is really thin, so the problem with that is if I want to sort of create a decal based around this, then I haven't got enough to cut into, and it's the similar situation here. Another factor to consider is your detail level. You've got to think about, again, what these are going to be. So realistically, is that too much detail? Probably. That's not so bad. These are fine. You could have that as a tiled thing. This is great. That's fine. But excuse me. The more detail you have, then the more your eye tends to wander. And also, another factor, as someone commented on one of my posts, they were having issues with resolution, and that's because obviously, I can zoom into here and that looks great. I mean, I could get really close there, and because I went a bit mad with the detail because it's a decal. But if I go into the actual thing and I zoom into that, you can see the level of pixelization. So something that small, even on a 4K map, which this is, it's gonna jump out. Its starts are gonna look rough. And so I'd say if you're contemplating that sort of level of details, that you're creating decals from these, do it in a separate thing. I mean, if you want to do it as a trim sheet, then do a trim sheet where these are much, much larger and they occupy far more pixels. But to be honest, for details like that, I'd be inclined to make those as a straight decal using Geo, rather than using it in a trim sheet. But if it is in a trim sheet, then expect that you don't want it to be too big, otherwise you're going to notice that pixelization. The other thing is, I really didn't give any space here, which doesn't sound too bad. As I say, it was a great thing, a good old box cutter and hops, they rule. Great exercise cutting things up using, because of course these are all cut up using slash with box cutter, but then you got to think, well, you know, when you're doing the decal you want space around them. So when I redid this one, as you can see, I've made sure there's a gap between each one, here, 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 so that when I'm creating the decal I get a nice sort of delineation of the decal. And as you can see here as well, I've addressed this so I can get a clean edge. Oh, another thing I want to talk about, this wraps, you're going to get that chamfer each side of that, same there. So if you want a flat edge, bear that in mind. I've actually got rid of any bevels on that edge as well, so it's a sharp cut. It may be once I've actually done the normal mapper finder, we'll need to actually remove these faces to get the sort of edge I want, and so that's another thing to bear in mind as well. So they're all the issues that you've got to sort of think about when you're doing decals. Right, and as I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I went from this to that, and I'm just going to be tackling this top bit. So let's get on with that, shall we? And this is just a bit of modelling. Now, how you go about this may depend on how comfortable you are modelling in Blender. Just going to start deleting these things. I can't sweep like that for everything because some of them were. Okay, so can we just select that and that, GY, move them out of the way. Oh, select that as well, GY, take them down there like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be, sorry I got sidetracked there, I'll finish that train of thought in a minute and make sure that's highlighted, otherwise we can't go into edit mode. Point mode, deselect everything, select all those points, then go in closer and just get rid of the points, oh, well, not get rid of, but deselect the points you don't want moving, and then just GY. And that's really all I did. Go back into so that now gives me a nice clean cut. And again, I can use box cutter, swap it to a box view, do it like that. Hold on, escape. No, I don't want to do that. I want to select that particular box. And we'll have it to about there, and then I'll just press X because I want to slice. And that's basically it. That's sliced it for me. And I'll just control sharpen these so that it applies the booleans. And that'll allow me to work on it. So I just hide that for now. So that's that bit done. That shows you how quick that was done. And again, just to select the edge, control click to select this edge, control click. I'm not bothered about this. I'm going to symmetrize it in a minute. Just do a control B for a small bevel, and then I'm just going to use symmetry, and that's that done. So if I unhide everything now, let's hide those cutters because they annoy me. So that's that side done. That was pretty painless. So what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, dude, as you can see with box cutters you can get sidetracked. Depending on your level of, sort of familiarity with Blender and modelling, it might depend about how you go about this. You may feel it's easier to start from scratch and put a box and go from there, or you might do something like, say, take this one, select the edges, the faces rather, just control clicking bit by bit to go along here. And you might then choose to extrude them out and rebuild it that way. That's not the way I chose to do it. I shall show you the way I chose to do it. So I shall hide everything else. I'll check. I'm going to apply that boolean. I don't want anything but the bevel and the weighted normal. Then I'll turn the viewport visibility off. Right. Now I can go in, and the way I tackled this was, first thing is, I isolated the bits that were all the same. So like this, I just Control plus, Control plus, Control plus, then Control X. In fact, let me move my mug up to there, and let me change the shortcut keys here. Let's get them going. There we go. Oh, here's an interesting thing, by the way. If you've got grab dock, I don't know if it's just grab dock, but watch what happens if I have that window open. Look what's happening there. That is a serious impact. And as soon as I get rid of that window, so grab dock's obviously up to something. So be aware if you are using grab dock to do your maps for your trim sheets, which is a good add-on, but just don't leave it open while you're working. So do the same here. Control. Oh, actually, you know what we'll do? We'll select these because they're all the same. Control X, and I'm actually going to try coplane. Are there? You should only select them. It does. Control plus, Control X. Right. Now I'm going to P, Shift D, P, separate them as a selection. Right. Now I'm going to actually Control plus, Control X, Shift D, P, separate them as a selection. Right. So I'm going to select linked, Control plus, you guessed it, Control X. Could not merge faces. Ah, hang on. Forgotten that one. Control X. Separate as a face. Right, now let's try it. Yeah, so there we are. Has not worked, has it? Control Shift X. Come on. Control plus plus. Control X. Could not create merged face. Why not? Ah, hold on. That's why not. Let me do the symmetry first. Right, now let's try that, shall we? Did I've forgotten to symmetrize, so we've done that. So what we have to do now, what we actually have to do is, I know there's some points nearby here, so I'm just going to select them too and just get rid of them. Otherwise they're going to mess up my face. And now just insert, and I can pull that much further in. I can get a much more effective bevel. And then take that down. And I can get that, if I GZ that, I can snap it to one of those, so it's basically back where it was in terms of height. So that's that done. Right, we can select these and we can put a bevel, add a solidify modifier in it, like that. Select them. I'm going to give that a solidify modifier as well. It doesn't have to be as deep. You can just go here and add it. I'm using hard ops because why wouldn't you? As I say, why on earth wouldn't you? This we can just scale. Oh, let's make origin to geometry and scale that down a bit. Just scale it on the Y. Just apply the scale. scale, move it up on the Y a bit, and like you say, you can add a solidify here if you wanted to. Just get that up like that, right. And then all you need to do is you want to go in here. First things first, let's get rid of any unwanted points. So I'll do a limited dissolve. That's better. Turn them back on. Don't want to bevel on these or the weighted normal. Likewise, there we just want solidify. The bevel and weighted normal will be taken care of elsewhere. So then I will turn on my wireframe because I want to think about where I'm going to get some cuts. So again, Alt-X, symmetry. So that's given me a cut down there to take care of them. And now we want to take care of all the others. And so let's see. Trying to find a point which would work. I think I am going to cut. Oh. I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to get rid of that edge loop there. And I'm actually going to try KZC. I'm going to go around there to there, like that. And I'm going to leave that because I'll change that manually. And again, same old Alt-X, symmetry, just to make sure it goes across. And then I'm going to select them. Select that, do Control minus. I'm going to select them and select them, Control plus. Don't want to do that because these here are too big. So what I'm going to do is go into edit mode here, do KZ, C, and I'm just going to cut about there. And get rid of those faces. That's it. And I'll just mark those edges. Right. Okay. Now we'll do Control plus. That's better. Okay. And again, I'm going to move these up first and apply them. And I can go in to edit mode and I'm just going to move that up. Like that. So it's nicely to one side of that, and you've guessed it, symmetrize. Okay, that one, Control plus, move it up, apply it. Right, then go into edit mode, select these faces, zoom in a bit, insert, go down, and go down again, move in a bit. I use insert there, as you can see, instead of extrude then scale, because it allows me to do it in one movement. And that should be that. I can get rid of that edge because no, it doesn't like that edge, and it doesn't like that edge because this isn't connected. Right. Now in this situation, what you could do is you could try connecting them up, but by sort of finding that, then adding a point on that, and it can get a bit messy. So I stumbled on this, and it's just a quicker way of doing it. Select those two edges, subdivide, and it'll cut them in the middle. So by default it gives you a nicer thing for if you're going to do bevels, then you can just slide them along to straighten it out. Like that. That then allows you to get rid of the nasty angled ones. That one's not too bad, but again the same situation here. Let's subdivide. Select that, select that, subdivide. Just straighten that up and do the same here. Well, here actually I probably would actually just knife it, because that's such a long edge. So what I'd do is I would go like that and then select those two and just press J to join, and that'll automatically join them up. And then we can get rid of the ugly ones. So that gives us a nice clean thing there, and of course you've guessed it, symmetrize. And then we can turn the viewport visibility back on, get rid of the wireframe, and that is much nicer. And if we unhide everything else, there you go. We can select them, move them up a bit. Oh, hang on. GZ, move that up, move that up, and there you are. That's that bit dealt with. Oh, the only other thing I did, last thing I promise, is select that edge, control, go around, no I don't want that one. Select that, go around, select, control bevel, and that just gives it a little bevel, and of course you know what's coming, Alt X and symmetry, and there you are. That's the revised version. Well, it wasn't too bad. So, anywho, I hope this was instructive in some way. And as I say, the revised model, not that one. What have I done with it? This one, the revised decal sheet with slightly different things. That's wider and what have you. I'll be making this available. Probably now, sometime tomorrow. That's pretty much it. I shall see you next time.